So, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in and watching. I'm Paul from Refocus Coaching, and I help dads to increase their energy and focus, improve their health, and find sustainable fat loss through nutrition and mindset coaching. And I'm joined on my chat today by His Royal Highness, Milo, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everybody. My name is Milo Dunne. I help businesses generate leads and get more business on LinkedIn. What I do is I help people build their audience with targeted connections using Sales Navigator to sort of really drill down on the right types of people. And then it's a bit similar to the connect and pitch that a lot of people like to do quite unsuccessfully. I prefer to go with the connect and icebreaker. So I take more of a networking, long-term approach to building relationships on LinkedIn for my clients.
Yeah, fab. And do you want to mention your networking as well?
Yeah. I also run Powered Up Business Networking, or acronyms to pub networking, evening networking that takes place in a pub. Which again is all about building relationships and having a bit of a laugh with the people in the room rather than being sort of serious and passing referrals.
Yeah, and the reason I asked you to mention that is because I've been to one when you were in Bristol, and they were fantastic. It was a completely different ball game from the usual sort of stale, pitchy networking malarkey. So it was a really good fun event.
Thank you.
Cool. So thanks for introducing yourself, and thanks for giving up some of your valuable time to come and chat to me on here. So I like to put these chats together to talk to dads that are in business or that are leading teams or that are spinning lots of plates to kind of, explore with them how you've kind of managed your energy and your health and things like that. And so I guess the first thing to ask you is, when you're thinking about your sort of energy levels and your health and how you've been growing and building and scaling a business whilst managing family commitments, is there anything that you've had trouble with? Is there an area you've had to specifically work on? And is there anything that you want to kind of bring up on that front to start us off?
It's difficult. It is difficult. Obviously with the two businesses and with one of them taking place in the evenings, once, sometimes twice a week. It's difficult to juggle family life, especially with children's activities, especially with a very sporty youngest who does lots of activities that goes into the weekend quite a lot. Finding the time to look after myself at times has been quite challenging, and just to tell you a bit of a story, it got to, it's about 2 years ago now. My old football team, we'd arranged an old boys reunion with a football match that we were going to have first, and I sort of looked at myself and thought, I'm probably going to die. Like the first run I tried to make, I'm probably going to die, because I hadn't been doing anything for quite a while, probably about 5 years that I hadn't been going to the gym. And it was like, right, that's it. I'm going back to the gym. I'm going to make sure that I make some time, even though I don't have like a set schedule. It's very difficult to have a set schedule. I always make sure that whatever pockets of time I do have, I go to the gym in those pockets of time just to take care of myself. I'm 46 years old now. And yeah, it was getting to the point where it's like, I do really need to do something. So just making sure that I do fit in the gym around whatever free time I have, where even if it's just a quick 40 minutes, something like that, I'd make sure I go.
Yeah. And so do you schedule that in now in advance, or are you literally, have you got like a bag by the door and you're just, when you've got a gap, you're just going to pick it up and go? Pretty much.
Okay. I can't have a schedule. That's the problem. I mean, usually most Monday evenings, albeit that I do once a month have an event on a Monday evening, I do tend to go, and a Wednesday evening is normally always free, so I do tend to go then. And then if I could just fit in another time, I'm quite happy with that. But I think to myself, like, there's some weeks where I can't go. I didn't go last week. I was busy. I was just too busy.
Yeah.
but for me, the key is to just go, oh, not go, oh, I give up now because I haven't been for a week. It's like, right, just get back on it. Don't punish yourself. Just crack on as usual. And I find that helps with not having a schedule to actually fit it into.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it, and I think it's important to, like you said, not give up. So if you have a week where it's gone a bit Pete Tong and you haven't gone at all, to not just go, well, there's no point then, and throw the towel in, because then you definitely aren't going to make any kind of progress. So I think, and when I work with my clients, I tend to encourage putting in a minimum amount, and then you're more likely to actually hit it or go further and attain more than you are if you say, right, that's it, I'm doing 5 days a week, I'm going to be in that gym, because you're probably going to fail, and then you're just disappointing yourself as well, aren't you? So, so I think that's a good way to do it. Sort of guard yourself a little bit, have a minimum commitment to adhere to, and then if you don't even attain that, okay, bad week, never mind, get back to it, and that's the way to go, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've found in the past that with my gym going, and I've, over the past 30 years, I've always found that sort of changes in circumstances have really knocked me out. So when I was going 7 years ago, I was working, or I had an office down in Ipswich town centre, by the docks, and there was a gym. It's about a 2-minute walk away. And as soon as I moved from that office and started working from home, it wasn't the going to the gym that was a problem. It was that 10-minute drive, parking up, 10-minute drive back. That was the issue. And that really knocks me out. So now having like a nice local gym that I can go to in the evening, which is only a 5-minute drive away, is really sort of benefited.
Yeah, no, definitely. That extra effort is a barrier, isn't it, potentially? So it definitely makes a big difference, I think. And you can talk yourself out. You've got more opportunities to talk yourself out of going if there are more steps to actually getting there in the first place. So it's really important to try and build something in, isn't it? I kind of wanted to ask you about, so I work with my clients on 4 main pillars. So nutrition being one, movement and exercise being one, sleep being another, and then kind of mindset and planning and organization being the 4th. And I want to talk to you about the sleep one a little bit, because with the thing that you do with your networking, and some of the time you go to the events, obviously, and sometimes there's travel involved. Sometimes I've seen you've done 2 or 3 in a row when you're going into a new area. So do you find that has a potential impact on how you operate, or have you got sort of tips and routines around how you manage that, especially when you're traveling?
That's a good question. Usually the nights are not too late. I do travel to our Cambridge event quite a lot, which can mean I leave the house at 5, and I usually get back around about, depending on taxis, 12:30 roughly. So that can be quite long, and then waking up the next day at sort of 7:15 roughly, I wake up. That can be a bit of a challenge. Usually I'm pretty good at sleeping. So I can sort of get in after a sort of night out and hit the bed. And I don't drink too much at my events, despite the fact that they take place in a pub, 3 maybe 4. So it's not hangover inducing in any way. And even then I've cut that down recently after a diet. When I'm doing the tours that I do, and it's 3 or 4 events, one after another for 4 nights. Because I'm staying in a hotel, and because I'm not doing the school run and things like that, I can sort of listen to my body, get back to the hotel, crash out, and kind of wake up anytime I want. So, albeit that I might have a train to catch the next day, there's I can still get up about 9, something like that, which gives me plenty of sleep. I do need my sleep. I am very much somebody who needs their sleep. My wife will tell you that I am very grumpy in the morning if I haven't had my sleep and I haven't had my coffee.
Yeah, okay. So you've sort of got a bit of built-in protection there as well, then, haven't you, with those travel days, because you're not going to get up and have like early morning appointments and things like that, which is,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. And, you obviously touched on, with your networking, you're obviously in a pub, so you're probably going to have a couple of drinks. And, the science and evidence is clear on that, is that even just having one drink of alcohol in an evening potentially impacts the quality of your sleep, because your body's obviously trying to, deal with that, even when you go to sleep. So, yeah, I always find it a fascinating subject to talk about how people sleep. And so it sounds like you're one of those lucky chaps whose head hits the pillow and then your alarm goes off the next morning. Is that?
Can be, yeah. I mean, usually, if I'm struggling to sleep a little bit, I could stick the TV on and put on a Family Guy or something like that. Something that doesn't need any brain power to watch, and I'll be asleep within 5-10 minutes at the very most. It doesn't take much for me. So yeah, like I say, that's. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm at my most productive when I do my weeks away. I would say that. So that's why. I mean, to digress a little bit, over the Euros, for example, obviously England did well. That meant several sessions in the pub for me. And I was drinking. I drank quite a lot of beer combined with my events, and I think it finished mid-July. And I sort of looked at myself and it was like, I've put on a bit of weight here. So I did a diet throughout rest of July, August, and I've been very good since then. I don't actually think I've drunk a beer since the Euros final. I've just been having single vodkas and a Coke Zero Diet Coke, try and keep that weight off. And then it's worked well. It's worked well. And I actually feel fresher in the mornings for it as well than drinking beer.
Yeah, no, good. And yeah, you will, absolutely, because of, I mean, I like a beer as well. But yeah, it's not optimal for our bodies, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. As soon as you introduce that to your body's in emergency mode trying to get rid of it, which is labor intensive. So that's why you feel so knackered, especially if you chain a few days together. Your body's trying to kind of get you back onto an even kill, so it just steals energy from you as well. So it's an intensive process. So yeah, it's always a fascinating conversation around that kind of area. So I'm still fascinated with the sleep. Have you worked on a routine at any point in your life, or have you always just kind of created this habit and you've been able to just get that sleep the way that you do?
Yeah, I have pretty much. It's not something I've ever worked on. If I haven't had enough sleep, I know. Yeah. I mean, I can really feel it the next day, and I don't feel like feeling like that. With 4 children, with 2 businesses, being tired is not a pleasurable experience. Well, it's not a pleasurable experience anyway, but. So yeah, it's something that I'm just conscious of that I do need to do, without really giving it too much thought. I very much listen to my body. So if my body's saying like you need to sleep, or you're tired, or have some of this, have some of that, and it's like, yeah, I'll just do it, because I just feel it's like good for the soul, and it's good for my mindset, really.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I think, it sounds like you're just very intuitive and sensible. And yeah, like you say, you listen to the cues that your body gives you. And I like how, you said that it's good for the soul to have something that you like as well. And I think that's really critical, because, some of the people I work with expect that if they want to do something like lose weight, for example, that they're going to have to give up all the things that they like, the things that they think are naughty or bad. And that's not actually true. And actually, having some of the things that you like that are maybe not optimal is actually quite joyful. And I think we should bring more joy to the table when we're eating and drinking, because otherwise, what's the bloody point? If you're just going to have super bland and, miserable, that's going to make you super bland and miserable as well, as far as I'm concerned. So I think you have to include, a bit of everything that you like. And for me, it's about getting that balance right of when it starts to tip over into it's more than 50% of the time, then maybe things are not going to go so well for you overall. So it's just keeping an eye on it, being intuitive, being mindful, and making those adjustments as you go. So yeah, I think it's a good way to look at it. It sounds like you might have done that all of your adult life, so it's sort of just normal behavior for you. It's your habitual routines, and that's how you operate.
Kind of. I think I have kind of operated like that, but in my 20s and definitely into my mid 30s, I would say it was, I never thought of the consequences. So it was just like whatever I wanted to do, I just kind of did it. Whereas now it's more of I want to do that, but like don't overindulge. Don't go crazy on anything. So like I say, whilst I know that sort of drinking alcohol at least once a week is not good for me, I have now made that management where it's like, well, yeah, I'm not just going to drink sort of 4 or 5 beers, 3 or 4 single vodka and Coke Zeros is fine. Well, then I also appreciate that Coke Zero's got some shit in it that's not particularly good for you as well. But it's better than the full fat Coke. So yeah, like I say, I do like to sort of just listen to myself. I do like to try and have a healthy mind more than anything else. I would say that's what's most important to me.
Yeah. No, I think that's really valuable. That attitude is going to take you a long way and keep you on an even kill. And like you said, and you're typically, especially blokes in the 20s, 30s, maybe there's a far more social element. We've generally got more friends and a bigger social network. We might be part of a team, of sports team or something. And your body's just a bit more robust and could take a bit more of a pounding, for want of a better word. So you can burn the candle at both ends and get away with it a bit more. And I think you have to almost kind of go through that and get to a point where your body actually starts to say, hang on a minute, don't like this, and have that realization, and then start to make some changes for the better. So no, I completely agree with that. Cool. So we've touched a little bit on, obviously, your exercise in your gym. How do you, when it comes to nutrition, are you what I might call like a dog? You eat the same things all the time, or do you explore foods? Have you got someone at home that does all the cooking for you? You don't even think about it. How's your setup with your nutrition? Do you think about it at all, or are you just kind of winging it?
It's mixed. I think probably winging it might be a slightly more accurate way of putting it. With the kids clubs, I mean, sometimes it just has to be quick and easy. Like there's no choice. I coach my youngest's football team. So like tonight, he's got school football training. So I've got to go and pick him up from school, get him back from school, quickly feed him, and then we're pretty much back out the door again for his football team training. Yeah. So like tonight, I don't even know what we've got tonight, but it would be something quick and easy like pasta. Yeah. Weekends, we do tend to be healthier because it just gives us a little bit more time. Thursday nights, I usually have my events. Doesn't give much time, especially if I'm in Cambridge, and like I say, I've got to be out the door at 5 o'clock. So it's very mixed. It is very mixed in my household. I'm conscious not to eat shit all the time, but sometimes just got to do it just because of time constraints on everybody. My wife works. She'll finish about 5:15. We kind of share the cooking, just depending on how busy she is and what I've got on that day, and the children. So yeah, very, very mixed bag.
Yeah. And have you got any particular eating system? Are you a faster or a breakfast skipper or any of that jazz, or are you just?
Yeah, I've never been one for eating breakfast. Never been one for eating breakfast. I will. Again, I don't do this all the time. I will be more of a bruncher. So
sounds posh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that posh. It's essentially breakfast at about 11:30. But so yeah, sometimes if I get hungry at that time, I will go and make myself a bowl of cereal or something like that. But one thing I am conscious of, and I think this caused some weight issues when I was in my 20s, or when I stopped playing football, really, was I didn't have breakfast and I made up for that by eating extra in the evening. Now, even if I don't have a brunch, I do not eat extra in the evening. It's just I've had my lunch, I've had my dinner. That's me done. So it's my own fault if I don't do that. I don't. Let's say overeating in the evening for me did, especially when I stopped playing football. Like I say, it's just 2 months later, and it was just like, I've gained like 2 stone. Just wasn't running around anymore.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and that's where a lot of people go wrong as well, because again, when you're in your 20s and your 30s, you're generally more active. You might be involved in sports, football as an example. And then when you come to that point when you sort of retire from that, or you step back a little bit from it, your energy output is obviously reduced. Usually then as well, we are more successful in life. So we might have a different job that's maybe less physical in our working day as well. We're invariably sat at desks and at computers. And then in the evening, we've got a nice comfy sofa to go and sit on, and we've got some nice snacks in the cupboard. So our energy balance completely shifts. Whereas before, when we're younger, our metabolism was naturally higher. We're also really active, and we're not maybe eating quite as much food. So we're outputting more energy than we're taking in. And then it starts to shift as we get into our 30s and 40s. And then we're taking in more energy than we're outputting. And obviously, our body's being clever little things, stores it up for later. So yeah, you have to be really conscious of that. I think that's the thing that catches a lot of people out, and it's one of the things that most people I work with is they've been caught out by, and then it's trying to redress that balance. So you're right, in the evening, if you've skipped breakfast, and again, this is where some people fall flat on their face when they do fasting or intermittent fasting or whatever they're going to do, is that they think because they're eating window smaller or they've skipped a meal, they can have a bit more later. And actually, if you get to that meal hungry, you could eat much more than you would have eaten combined with the breakfast or the meal you skipped and the meal you're about to have anyway. So you're still actually eating more energy than you need. So it definitely needs mindfulness. It definitely needs awareness and a bit of intention, I think, to kind of keep a lid on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's easy to slip. And like I said, especially as we progress through our careers and our life, we've got the creature comforts. We build a nice environment and we're able to move less. And actually the world in general is just becoming more convenient, isn't it? Everything we do, our work and our food system and our environment is just becoming more easy. So yeah, we just move less, in which case we're expending less energy and there we are. So yeah, definitely got to be mindful about it, especially as we age. And while I'm on that subject as well, and I think it's really important for guys, especially as we get into our 30s and 40s, our body's changing as well. We're going to start losing bone density. We're going to start losing strength in our joints and our ligaments, and our muscles are going to reduce in size. Our testosterone levels are going to reduce. So actually, it's really important to try and go and move a little bit. So doing the coaching is great because you're out there with the kids. You're probably running around doing little mini sprints and things with them. I think guys should be in the gym trying to lift when they can as well, and actually get some resistance training in, because what we want to try and do is just slow that decline down. Because otherwise, again, that's kind of leads us to be even more sedentary, and then the whole spiral just sort of gets a bit quicker. So I think it's really important to keep active and keep out there. And if you can do it in a way that is something that you really like doing, that's even better, because you'll keep doing it. If you suddenly decided to take up running just for health and it sucks, you're not going to keep doing it, so it's not going to work. So I think it's really important to go and do stuff that's really engaging. So probably with your lads' football in the team, it's probably a really good laugh as well. You probably really enjoy it, and you're busy and on your feet as well. So yeah,
they
really
certainly keep me on my toes, that's for sure. So
yeah, I bet they do, and they're probably at a good age of cheekiness as well. So they keep you mentally stimulated as well.
They're getting to the attitude age now, so then they're under 11s now. So few of them have got a bit of lip.
Yeah, well, in a few more years they'll be physically challenging you as well, I expect. So you might want to stick with the youngsters.
Yeah, I must say my eldest boy is he's 13. He's playing under 14s, and I mean even last year some of the players that he had in his team were just like absolutely ginormous, just like 6'4", and it's just like towering over me. It's like, how can you be 13 years old?
Yeah. So something I like to ask people that I talk to is whether there's any particular, is there any particular person that's influenced you in terms of your managing your health and your sort of energy levels and so on, or a book or a system or anything that sort of positively influenced you that you think is worth mentioning?
I'm going to have a crap answer for you on this, I'm afraid. No, not particularly.
Okay.
Google. I mean, quite often I look things up on Google. I can't particularly credit it to anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you get bombarded with, the do this, do that, do this, and sometimes it's all conflicting advice. I have a thing called compartment syndrome, which I'm guessing you've probably never heard of. But so the blood goes into my muscles, but the muscle fibers don't expand. So it just causes like the blood gets trapped essentially, and it's pretty painful. It's what caused me to stop playing football. So I have to be very conscious of what I do, and again, a lot of it's done on feelings. So me going to the gym when I lift weights now, I have to do sort of quite high weight, low rep stuff, so I don't make the compartment syndrome kick in. Yeah. But on the flip side, that's messing my joints up a little bit, especially in my shoulders. My shoulders knot up quite a bit, and not sure if I'd describe it as painful, but certainly uncomfortable, I would class it as. So a lot of the time I will look at this. There's sort of like specialist forums on compartment syndrome, which sometimes I'll have a look through for ideas and things like that, or I'll ask questions on Google to try and find some certain answers. But I wouldn't say there's been particularly anything that's any books or anything like that. Just you, Paul, obviously.
Yes, well, good. No, and I have heard of the compartment syndrome. I know from speaking to someone with it that it's quite painful when you get a flare up as well, and it's difficult to manage as well. So, yeah, and I would say when you're going into the gym, if you're going to do and I think heavy weightlifting is the way to go anyway, just to protect your joints and to encourage keeping that testosterone as much as you can as you age and keeping strong. Is I would focus on compound moves and the big moves and not worry too much about the fancy pants stuff anyway, because that's, you use all of your muscles in terms of balancing your body and holding a weight and holding a barbell anyway. So, I would say pick exercises that are the big muscle groups and the compound moves that are using 2 or 3 of those big muscle groups at any one time, and not worry too much about all the accessory stuff, because you don't really need it unless you're sculpting for something, or you want particularly big arms, because you're going to train those muscles anyway just by lifting heavier stuff. So next thing I want to ask is about daily non-negotiables. So have you got any that are sort of specific to your kind of your mindset and your setup for the day, your organization, and how you're managing your kind of and protecting your energy on the day? Have you got a sort of set of daily non-negotiables that you always stick to and deliver on?
I mean, not so much health related, but I do, when I wake up, I do like to have my cup of coffee, and then I like to have a bath. And I like to do that in silence, which I don't always get with some of my children, but that really helps just reset the brain and get ready for the day. As soon as I've done that, I'm good to go. Like I become really sharp. I can crack on straight away. But before then, just don't talk to me. I think it's probably the best thing to say. But that would be, I mean, I know it's not a set routine as such, but that is the one thing that I would say, like, once I've done that, I'm on it and I'm ready.
Yeah. That's interesting. How the bath thing, is it a cold bath, lukewarm, or super hot? What's the setup?
Pretty hot bath. Okay. It's just my way of just still being in that sort of sleep zone and just bringing myself out of it. So I've had my coffee, bring myself out of that sleep zone, washing the face, having a wash over, and just being ready for the day. I'm quite big on mindset. That would be one of my biggest things, and just trying to prepare myself. And again, getting older, memory's not as good, not as sharp as what it used to be. I'm very much, even though I'm involved in like helping people out on LinkedIn and bits of software here and there, I still love a to-do list that I write in a book every day, getting there, writing it all down, knowing what I've got to do, mentally preparing myself for it, and then just being able to crack on with it.
Yeah. That's really good. Yeah, and I think there's something powerful about actually writing something down physically as well, and then obviously potentially crossing them out or ticking them off. But just the act of writing it down brings it forward in your mind a little bit, and I think that's really useful. So a lot of people do journaling, don't they? And they'll write down, things they're grateful for and things they want to achieve that day, and then do a reflection at the end of the day. And there's various ways of kind of going about it. I'm really fascinated with the whole bath thing, because I know from working on sleep with a lot of people that a warm bath at the end of the day is quite useful for signaling the body that it's time to sleep, and actually it raises melatonin in the body, which is helpful for going to sleep. So even just putting on some warm socks can sort of do the trick as well for some people. So and oftentimes a lot of people will go and sit in a cold bath in the morning, because that's the hardest thing they'll do today. So then the rest of the day is a piece of cake. But it's interesting that you found that a warm bath in the morning is your kind of wake up. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it just makes me feel refreshed. I think that's what it is. It is just relaxing, just getting into the day, put on some music, feeling refreshed, and I'm just good to go. I've always been like that since a young lad. I've always had a morning bath, always.
Yeah. Do
Probably
you like a sauna?
Sorry.
Do you like a sauna?
I've only ever been in a sauna once, and it was okay. It was okay. I can't say it's not something I particularly enjoyed or particularly hated. I've never felt the need to do it again. Put it that way.
Right. So it's not the warm thing necessarily. Then it's just that, I guess it's the act of kind of that sort of cleansing act and the comfort of the bath. Yeah. I might try it.
Possibly. Yeah, give it a go. If
I'm allowed to have the bathroom for longer.
Yes, well, that is a bit of an issue in my house, to be fair. My youngest is don't actually know at the moment. He's currently going through assessment for ADHD. I'm pretty sure he is. So we have two bathrooms. He will only go in the one where I have my bath.
Right.
So, and it's like, usually I'll get a knock on the door. I want to brush my teeth. It's like, go downstairs. No, I want to brush them in here. I want to go to the toilet in here. So, for Christ's sake. So, it doesn't always work out perfectly, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least it stops you from sitting in there for an hour.
Well, it does. Yeah. or falling back to sleep.
Yeah. Well, before we kind of wrap up, is there anything that you kind of wanted to bring up or talk about or ask me or anything in relation to this kind of topic and discussion?
Well, I'd be quite interested to know. I mean, obviously, if you've heard about compartment syndrome, usually I find that in speaking to any trainers in the past, they've not known what it is. Yeah. So, I mean, how much do you know about it? I mean, would you be able to sort of, because I'm sure I'm not the only person out there with chronic compartment syndrome. So, would you have any tips for people that do sort of suffer with cramped muscles?
I don't know a huge amount about it, but I do know, like you alluded to earlier on in the discussion, that if you flood the muscle with more blood, then that's when you will trigger it and get a flare up. And so, for example, like you said, if you're doing something in the gym, like low weights, high reps, more, then that's going to cause that to happen. And probably you're going to end up with a bit of pain. And especially in the bigger muscle groups. So, the glutes and the quads. So if you're doing squats and deadlifts and things like that, and you're doing those lighter but lots of reps, that's probably going to cause you a bit of a problem.
It's actually the other way around. It's the smaller muscles, because obviously the blood flows and there's not so much room. I don't know for sure, but I think the bigger muscles, I don't get it in my quads, and I don't get it in my hamstrings at all, as far as I can tell. And I just think it's just because there's more room for the blood to move around. I don't know exactly. But,
well, the makeup of the muscle's slightly different as well. So those bigger muscles have got more type 3 muscle fiber, which is more for the power for explosive maneuvers.
okay.
Whereas your smaller muscles are more type 1, type 2, which is generally going to be for your sort of endurance and general movements in the day. So I think that's probably why. It's probably to do with the cellular makeup of the different types of muscle fibers in those big fibers. So yeah, so if you're thinking, shoulders and arms maybe are where it's potentially going to catch you out more, that's because there's less of that type 3 muscle fiber in those smaller muscles because they're not required there that much. Your main power and explosion is going to come from the bigger muscles, like in your legs, the big muscles in your legs, in your chest and in your back. So that probably makes a bit of sense in terms of how that's working.
It does.
The typical pump of a bicep, that requires a lot of work to make it pump up big because it's not, it's full of all those smaller muscle fibers and lower type muscle fibers. And so I can understand why that would cause a trigger for sure.
Because it's interesting. Like for example, if I run, I can run about 300 meters before it starts to kick in. And it doesn't matter whether I'm doing a slow jog or sprinting as fast as I can, it's 300 meters. That's the moment it kicks in. It's very bizarre. So I have in the past, just rather than going on runs and causing myself, it's quite extreme pain in my feet. I've just done sprints, just done a few sprints, take a break, a few sprints, take a break. And that seems to have worked quite well.
So it sounds like that's the key then, isn't it? It's doing the more explosive, powerful movements is going to protect you, whereas the longer form, sort of more endurance type maneuvers are going to be the ones that cause a problem. Sprints are great. I actually encourage a lot of. So I run a sort of strength and fitness class in Bristol on the weekends with dads around the area, and we talk about this sort of stuff quite often because when we're kids, we're always sprinting and running and climbing and jumping, and we sort of stop doing it when we're adults. We're a bit boring, really. And I think there's actually a bit of fun to be had, and actually, going out and doing some sprints, jumping around a bit. I get my guys jumping. I just put a line of cones on the floor and get them hopping over side to side, and they all laugh and all end up with a smile on their face. Meanwhile, obviously, the heart rate's up and they're exercising their muscles as well.
Absolutely.
So I don't think we sprint enough. I think we should do more of that stuff.
Yeah, it would be a bit weird if us full-grown adults just start sprinting through the town and stuff. People would immediately think there's something wrong. But
if we all start doing parkour or something, it's going to look a bit suspect, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Well, look, it's been an awesome chat. I've really enjoyed speaking with you. If I want to just pop this message up on screen because we've got a Milo Dunne fan. Ian has been watching.
Thanks,
so I agree. Yes, he is a fantastic bloke, and his service is fantastic as well. So if people want to kind of get in touch with you, find out what are you working on at the moment? Is there anything you want to kind of promote or push? And how can people get in touch with you?
At the moment, I do have a special offer on LinkedIn growth, including the price of Sales Navigator, which is actually £80 a month. I can grow people's accounts with roughly 250 followers a month, or connections, should I say. And I'm doing that for £150 a month. With a minimum term of 3 months, so £450 for 3 months, which is much lower than the usual price that I charge. And it is just for the growth aspect, and it would be proper targeted followers for you or connections for you. Why do I keep saying followers? It's because I've been on Twitter earlier. Pub networking. If anybody ever wants to open a branch of pub networking in their town or city, other than Bristol, we've tried Bristol. Unfortunately, the clean air zone killed it. I'm always happy to talk to people about launching a pub networking as well. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, please do so on LinkedIn. That is always the best place to ping me a message, or at Sir Milo Dunne is my Instagram handle as well. You can enjoy my 9 pictures that I've posted on there.
Yeah, you're very much more active on LinkedIn, that's for sure. I always enjoy your content on there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, fab. Thanks for the time today, and thanks for joining me today. And for anyone that's interested in what I'm up to at the moment, I've actually just launched an emergency 5-week health program for dads. So that little thing on the scroll on the bottom there. It starts next Monday. It's 5 weeks of habits, and kind of opposed to these Santa, the concept that people were losing weight so that they can just go and gorge themselves guilt-free over Christmas really annoys me. So this is not a diet. This is more about setting in the basics, healthy habits, getting your ship in order so that you can go into Christmas with a totally different mindset and enjoy the best Christmas that you've had. So have a look at the link there. It starts next Monday. So you need to get in there quick. I've only got a couple of spaces left on that. Cool. So thanks again, Milo. Really good to chat to you on here. Thanks for your time.
No worries. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, Paul.
Yeah.
Good to see you again. Yeah, see you soon. Take care, mate.